When you kind of look at everything, um, as far as those two teams, we can look at the Hawks and we can say that they're fighting injuries, right? Because obviously there's no Okongwu, obviously there's no Jalen Johnson, who's really been a standout this year. He really stepped his game up. He's been a guy who really stepped to the forefront when Trae Young went down this season. But if we're being fair, the Chicago Bulls do not have their best player either, and Zach LaVine. So I think it's a pretty good matchup as far as, both teams are kind of dealing with something. But honestly, I don't think it matters anyway. Because when you look at that first game with Philly and the Miami Heat, whoever loses that game, whether it's Miami or Philly, I believe will have no problem getting into the playoffs after they lose that game, whether it's the Bulls or the Hawks. Because I think Philly or the Heat will take care of either one of those two teams.
I will say this. I don't totally disagree, but this Hawks team is very weird. They beat the Celtics twice in 1 week, which is a crazy thing, hard thing to do. So weirder things have happened. Now, I think
That'd
they've
be
just
really weird.
been too inconsistent this season, and they're missing too much to probably pull that out. But weirder things have happened. Who knows if DJ pops off or Trey pops off, what could happen. But it remains to be seen.
And that's what will have to happen. In order to get the Hawks to the playoffs, it's going to take one of those tremendous efforts from Trae Young. He's going to have to catch fire and, probably from three-point range. And, look, I think they can win tonight. I think they could beat the Bulls in this game right here. As a matter of fact, I think they're going to beat the Bulls in this game tonight. I don't think this is going to be the last game of the season for the Hawks. I think they'll find a way to get past the Bulls. Trey seems to just get a little bit extra in some of these games, and so I think he'll have a big night tonight, and I think they'll win tonight against the Bulls. But when you look forward to whoever they play in that next round, whether it's Philly or Miami, you got playoff Jimmy. Jimmy Butler's a different beast come playoff time, and make no mistake about it, these NBA play-in games are pretty much, well, I won't call them playoff games, but they're postseason games. So you're going to get the best out of playoff Jimmy, or you're going to face a 76ers team that really, when you think about it, shouldn't even be in this position anyway. The only reason why they're in this position is because Joel Embiid went down, and that made them lose a bunch of games when he went down. But when Joel Embiid was healthy earlier in the season, the 76ers were one of the top two teams in the Eastern Conference. So that's kind of fool's gold, the fact that they're playing in this play-in game. The 76ers, in my opinion, are one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the Eastern Conference. So I don't think whether it's the Bulls or the Hawks, they have any chance of beating them. I think maybe Miami a little bit just because they've been a little weaker throughout the season and they haven't been, they've been kind of slow walking it throughout the season. But remember, the Miami Heat last season were the number 8 seed team, and they made the NBA Finals. So I don't know if that's a good barometer for what they are.
No, it's going to be hard for the Hawks to slow Joel Embiid if they do see the 76ers.
Right, so they're going to be doomed regardless. I think we both agree on that, right? So, okay, so this is not so fun news with the NBA.
Wait, aren't we going to hear from Quinn Snyder?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I skipped.
We got to hear from Quinn first, and then we'll get to some wild NBA news.
Very wild NBA news. But first, let's get to Quinn Snyder, the very laid-back Quinn Snyder, as he talks about what the team sort of feels like headed into this big play-in game. Yes, it is a big play-in game against the Chicago Bulls tonight in Chicago.
I think there's obviously it's a one game, and so your preparation, different than a playoff series in that you have multiple games. You need to make whatever adjustments you're going to make on the front end, and then during the course of the game. Matchups are a little different, personnel is a little different. So there's a number of things that play into it. But the reality is it's that important of a game. And I think one of the biggest things is just to have a really focused competitive mindset. And, you say that, you know your team will, but also, within the framework of the discipline that it's required. It's not enough just to go out and play hard. You have to be smart too.
Obviously, knowing the injury circumstances that you've had for a while, but throw on top the no two-way players, so no V in this one. How do you deal with what could be looked at as those limitations to your roster?
Well, let me say first of all, we really appreciate everything Veet's done, and he's done a great job for us, and obviously everybody recognized that. And those are hard decisions that are complex in nature, and Obviously, there's a long-term component for all that. As far as not having him, we don't have JJ. We don't have Sadiq. We don't have O. So that's just something, as I've said, really it's no different than throughout the course of the year. The guys that you do have to be ready to go and have to play at a high level, and you can't lament those things. So we'll be ready.
You've now seen 3 games from Trey and this kind of ramp up to get him ready. Do you feel, just from the types of performances that you've seen and getting him conditioned, that he is ready to go for this one game type of playoff?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, as you said, was his conditioning, and when you haven't played in a while, getting comfortable again, little things but you fall back into what you know, and as far as some of the adjustments that individual players make or the team makes, I think those things kind of fall off, and I know he's ready to go and excited to play.
What have you seen from Mo Gay and a rookie season that has been sort of chopped by injuries and things? How do you get him up to speed, given that he just hasn't had a lot of continuity?
Well, I think there's definitely a reality to that with some of the injuries. The time that he spent some time practicing in College Park, even though we were just being really smart about him getting back into competitive play in games. Didn't want him to do that before he was really, really ready. So there's a lot of, it's one of the advantages of having the connectivity between the Hawks and the Skyhawks. And that a lot of the principles and things on a base level, fundamentally, there's some things that he's prepared to do, understands the terminology, and then just having a chance to get in there, and last night, obviously, with Clint out, he played even more, and that he looked like you get the first game I played, he looked pretty nervous. That's to be expected, but he plays hard, and he's active, and he's excited to be out there. I think that's the main thing. Whatever happens in the game happens.
Just to add on that a little bit, was he sort of called to play out of position a little bit? You didn't have Clint?
Yeah, I think that's the interesting thing. It's one of the things about Mo. His versatility is really, because of his length and then his skill. I think we see him as a basketball player. He's a multiple position guy. It worked out last night, obviously with Clint out, but then Bruno getting some early fouls, where his minutes went up, and it's good to see him get a chance to play. You never wish that on those circumstances, but to have him be able to get in there and get his feet even more wet was a good thing.
Some of your size limitations, and really having Dre as like the leftover guy who's kind of still available for you, that's been your core and your forward spot. How do you message to him, like avoiding foul trouble, playing a lot of minutes on any do or die game? Like, how do you even sort of approach that going into the game?
Yeah, I think the minutes are less of a factor in a playoff situation where guys' minutes are extended. It's a shorter period of time, obviously. In this case, it's one game with the potential for another game, and then you have the actual playoff situation becomes different. But the foul trouble is a big thing. He's got to stay out of foul trouble, and that's hard to do sometimes when you're such an important defender because people are attacking you. But he's got to do that, and we've got to help him. We can't just have him on an island saying good luck, Hunt. We got a team of 5 guys out there.
Is that exacerbated at all dealing with DeMar DeRozan, who's kind of their main guy? Is that maybe usual?
He never goes to the foul line, right? Sure. I think really any team you play at this point in the year is going to have a matchup and a player that is a tough cover, and he's a unique one in so many ways. He's been a great player in this league for a long time. Just have a ton of respect for him. He puts a lot of pressure on you defensively because he can do a lot of things. And that's what I was saying too. It can't just be one guy. We have to have multiple guys ready to guard him. He's going to be in pick and roll situations as a ball handler. He's going to be as a screener. He's going to be on the post. He's going to be in isolation. Just a lot of different things you have to guard.
You've gone through this now before, this kind of playing situation.
Yeah.
Do you feel that it's been, after a couple of years, good for the league? I mean, obviously the alternative under the old system, this year, the season would be over
Yeah.
for you guys. But just overall, how do you kind of feel that this has worked for the league?
Yeah, I think, and I've felt this, since it came to be, and not just because we're in it, but I think it's unique. I think if you look at the people in the league, I think you'd get a similar response from most coaches, general managers, owners. I think I think it's been really good, and I don't think it's going anywhere. It's not my decision, but it looks to be something that it has an impact across a lot of ways, or a lot of areas, I should say, and it's exciting.
It'll be a hard-fought battle in Chicago. We just gotta be ready to be up there and go up there and be ready to play.
Trey, you've obviously been through this playing experience before. How do you feel like it's different this time around?
Every year is different challenges and brings different things to the season and to the game. We never played in Chicago for a play-in, playoff type environment, or a game. So it'll be fun. It's gonna be something different. So we're looking forward to the challenge, though.
Trey, physically, and not just obviously the hand, but your lungs, your legs. How do you feel like you are going into this?
I feel a lot better. I feel like just from like these last couple of games, that last game playing a lot more. Even between like certain games, I've been getting conditioning in, so I'm just trying to make sure I can play at least close to my minutes that I play in the regular season and the play-in game. So.
You recently missed. Oh, go ahead.
Trey, obviously you don't want to miss time, but when you're out for whatever it was, 6 weeks, and you're just watching, what are you looking for in what your new teammates are doing, or what's happening on the court, things like that?
You look for where you can fit in and be yourself, and if things are going well, where you can fit in and be just an extra spark to help in what's going well, and if something's not, how can you fix it when you come back? So, I don't dive too deep into it. I'm adjustable. My game is adjustable. I can play whatever style with whoever, and I can fit in and make myself and whoever around me stand out. So it's just about coming in and making sure I have the wind to do it, and just in rhythm with everybody. So that's it.
You recently mentioned on X that you've been listening to some diss music.
Oh yeah.
How does that kind of hype you up and give you that attack mentality as we now in the playoffs?
I probably should have went through what I said. I listened to some Bryson Tiller, so I was on some slow jam vibes, and so I was gonna save it for the playing game. So maybe I'll try to do what I said I was gonna do. So.
Trey, obviously with the injuries and then no two-way guys this time around, you get into the play-in. How do you deal with what could be looked at as a disadvantage for you guys, just roster and depth-wise?
Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
How do you deal with the fact of you guys have the injuries and then no two-way players, so no Veet in this one? How do you deal with that disadvantage, just roster and depth-wise?
It's tough, obviously, but you play the card you're dealt. I'm a player, so I'm gonna do my job and make sure I go out there and try to give my best and try to, lead our team to win. I can only do what I'm capable of and what I can control. So I'm gonna go out there and I feel like we can still win with the guys we have. So that's just my mentality. I'm gonna go out there and try to do it.
Great. Obviously, I'm feeling great, and I'm ready to go. I know we've been in a situation a lot with this team, and we know what type of intensity this game's going to be.
How do you feel like your team can handle not only the injuries that you guys have kind of faced, but also this time around no two-way players, so no Veet in the lineup for you guys, and what could be looked at as just limitations for you guys roster-wise?
Yeah, no, I feel like those type of games, win or go home, it's more about a mentality, especially when you're on the road like that. It's you have to bring up that aggression mentality. You have to bring up you just have to be ready to go to war. This has to be a mentality. So obviously, guys like Veet who played really well for us, is gonna be different. But the mentality cannot be affected, even though we're gonna miss Veet.
has it been like for you guys to have Trey back, and how has he looked?
Yeah, I mean, no, he's been looking good. Always good to get back to pick and roll with him. Feels good to have this floor general again with us. He got the one logo 3, I think, against Minnesota. I was like, oh yeah, that feels good to see. So energy-wise, to me, it was a great feeling.
Just talk about not getting down early and having to try to come back like you had to do a few games this season. You want to kind of get off to a good start, especially on the road.
Whatever, at the end, you want to win the game. So obviously it would be best for us to start the game the right way. I know that they're going to be ready to obviously at home, and the fact that we've played them maybe 10 days ago and we've beat them, so I know that they're going to definitely bring that sense of urgency. But and we know all we want is at the end of the game to win the game. So however we start, whatever what matters the most is how you finish it.
All right, well, the Hawks, we'll see what they can do tonight against the Bulls, though. Remember, I picked them to win, so when they do win, I can come on here tomorrow and say, I told you.
There you go. There you go.
All right, so before we're just getting ready to jump into Jonte Porter here from the Toronto Raptors, who has received a ban from the NBA due
Forever.
Lifetime. For gambling violations. And we were just talking about this a little bit before we came out. Jonte was doing a lot.
He was doing the most, actually. So he was putting in his own wagers. He used other people. He also was tipping people. I think the biggest one was he had a buddy that he tipped to that he would underperform in a Raptors game that night. And he only played 3 minutes and claimed some illness and never returned. So that $15,000 wager or something, it was something stupid. It might have been, I can't remember what the number was.
Well, let me see.
But it panned out to be a $1.1 million, what the guy ended up getting in the end. Now that was frozen and they did not pay that out because obvious reasons.
$1.1 million, yeah.
But he was doing the most. I think the NBA is definitely setting an example and doesn't want the integrity of the league to be under any scrutiny, and definitely make an example of him so other people don't do it. But he was really doing the most, especially for someone who's not even
a top of the line guy.
Correct.
He's
Correct.
A guy. He's when you're a Jonte Porter in the league, it's pretty easy to punish. I think he's the brother of Michael Porter Jr. by the way, for the NBA champion from the Denver Nuggets. What's going to be interesting to me is if someone really of note starts to get into doing some gambling, right? I mean, it's easy to punish the Jonte Porters of the league.
Yeah, but if it's LeBron, we're having a different conversation.
Right.
He's the face of the league.
Right, or just someone else with a huge name.
Steph Curry.
Right, or in the prime, maybe even someone younger in the prime of their career, because, nowadays there's so much easier access to be able to place bets and everything, with FanDuel and all those things. So I hate to say I think we're going to see more of these sort of suspensions.
You sports gamble at all?
I don't gamble at all.
I don't either.
I've kind of looked, in Georgia, you still really can't, right? I mean, as far as, right. So, but I have a lot of friends back home in Ohio that gamble.
Do, yeah, because it's legal there.
They've loved it since they were able to start. So, look, this is not a problem that I think is going away anytime soon, unfortunately. So, I don't think Jonte will be the last. He's not the first, and he probably won't be the last.
No.
Atlanta Vibe.
Yeah, they're vibing. They beat the Rise last night at home. I believe that's 7 straight wins. They actually clinched a playoff berth too.
Woo!
They're rolling in their first inaugural season to be the first team to clinch that as well. I believe they've only lost 4 matches this year. So, they're rolling. The games are a lot of fun. But the team and coach actually talked about how they've been able to find success this season and what going into the playoff berth means after finding their success.
And I wouldn't say major chaos, but it was a little bit of chaos for us. We decided that we were going to give Anna a scheduled day off. She'd been playing pretty hard straight here. The good news is we're so blessed that we have 2 starting right sides. And Grace showed that tonight. She came in and really more than did her job to help us win. it's nice to be in that position when we can bring people into the starting lineup or off the bench like we did with Allie, and they can turn the tide of the match a little bit. So all in all, I think that's a great team over there. That's a team that's going to be in the playoffs. It's a team that we could see again in the playoffs. So a win like that is important, especially since they started 2-0 against us, and we've had to climb back with 2 wins to tie them back up and tie them on the season. So all in all, we responded. It wasn't our best match, but you know what? You have to know you can go in and win those matches. You have to know that you can go in and be confident even when things aren't going perfectly. And things didn't go perfectly, and that's okay, because we still have time in the regular season to get better at the things that don't go okay and respond appropriately, which we did tonight. Well, every match has been that way in one way or another. Even the 3-0 sweeps, we played well in those, but we still had to solve a lot of problems to put ourselves in a position to go 3-0. Some of those were close matches, even though it was a 3-0 ending. But this team is constantly solving problems. They're solving problems in practice. We give them opportunities to solve problems. We give them opportunities to have direction of the team and what we're going to do. That's a problem that they have to solve. They have no problem solving problems. That's something that is one of the strengths of this entire roster, is that they go out there and they solve whatever's in front of them.
Kind of just going off what you said, we get along really well outside of the court and outside of volleyball. We're a team with similar ages too, which I think is kind of helpful. We're all going through similar stages of life, and we really do just enjoy making practice fun, making games fun. We have so many personalities on the team, and we do challenge each other. It's not like it's all fun and games, but there's so much respect there, and I think that's kind of what's attributed to that success.
I think a cool thing about our team, which might not be known, is a lot of us have played together before. The majority of our team I've played with either in college or professionally, or even Morgan Hintz I played against in high school. So I think that's the beauty of our team, of we kind of, with Todd's permission, we're kind of hey, we kind of want to play with this person. Can we bring her in? And it was a lot of us building a group of people that we loved playing with over the years. And I think there's such a respect for everybody's job. And I think that's what makes teams great, is everybody knows their role and everybody knows how to play their role, and they know that when they do their role, it helps the entire team. It's if my role is to get kills, I'm going to go and get my kills because I know that's what I need. And if Grace's role is to get blocks and shut down that outside hitter, she's going to do that with the best of her ability, and we trust that each person's going to do that, and we never have to worry about it. So I think we've built so much trust with each other of knowing that hey, I got you, you got me, but I know you're going to do your job, and I never have to worry about having to ask you to give more because I always know you're going to give your 100%. And I think the personalities on our team make things so much fun too. We just really enjoy being around each other, and even though we are at different stages of life and we live in so many different places and there's so many differences about us, I think that's what the beauty is of our group, is we are allowing that to mesh together, and we really embrace who each person is individually as a person.
Leah won Athletes Unlimited this year, which is kind of like a Ryder Cup and how it scores points, and at the end of the year, whoever has the most points actually wins the league, and Leah won the league this year. But she did one thing that was really unique that I've never seen in any kind of style like that, is she went out and she picked the people that she meshed the best with. Not necessarily the best people, but the people that she played best with, and that's who she went out and she got week after week. When we started assembling this team, Leah was the very first one to commit to this group. And we kind of followed that same roadmap because we feel like you don't have to be the tallest or the most athletic or the most skilled. However, if you have the best chemistry, you have a great shot at being consistent night in and night out. So we really took that roadmap and we built a team together, and this is the result that we have.
Coach, how satisfied are you with just the growth of this team? Such a young team, so phenomenal right now.
It's funny. People say, "Oh, how satisfied am I with the record or how well we've done?" I'm not satisfied, these both of them will tell you they're not either. We're 0-0 right now as far as we were concerned. However, if there is one thing I am really proud of, I am really proud of how we have stayed together when other teams have fractured. I'm proud of how we stuck up for each other when other teams haven't. I'm proud of how we compete when the chips are really on the table.
All right, Bailey, look, let's talk about some real high-level hate here from the NFL. So, of course, we know the Atlanta Falcons hired Raheem Morris as their head coach this past this past off season, I guess I should say. So for the longest time, we all thought Bill Belichick was the top, maybe even the
Leading candidate.
the leading candidate for the Falcons head coaching position. So maybe we aren't alone because Bill Belichick thought he was too, apparently. Mr. Belichick thought he was going to be the next, or at least certainly the number one candidate for the Falcons head coaching position, until his former boss reportedly called up his close friend Arthur Blank, who's the owner of the Atlanta Falcons, and said, "Psst, I'm just saying, man, if I was you, I wouldn't hire him. I mean, towards the end of his time working for me, he got real arrogant. He was hard to trust. If I was you, I'm just saying, you could do whatever you want to do. But if I were you, I'm not sure I would hire him." I mean, that's kind of crazy when you think about it, right? Especially to someone the stature of Bill Belichick.
I think there's a lot of weird entities here. And I will say this, and I've always lived by this, that if you are not in the room during conversations, you don't actually know if it's true or what is happening.
For sure.
Everything can be, everyone has their truth, right? So here's my thing. How does Bill know that? Why put it out now? In addition to that, though, why does Robert Kraft care? Does he have a great relationship with Arthur Blank, and that's why they feel like that?
Yeah, they're close friends.
Because obviously Arthur Blank was moved some type of way to not then hire Bill Belichick. It's all very interesting. Yeah, I don't really know what to make of it. I mean, that sucks if that's the case for Bill. But also, Arthur Blank didn't hire him, so maybe Arthur Blank thought there was a little bit of truth to it.
Yeah, I mean, when you consider, like, a lot of these owners, they're really close friends behind closed doors. They've known each other, so they talk to each other. They talk to each other a lot more than we know and what we think. And the way they sort of worded it was Belichick was kind of voted off the island by the Falcons brass because, Arthur Blank was all in Bill Belichick. Look, Bill thought he was the guy, and then all of a sudden,
Well, and that was what was catching the most steam during the time as well. Raheem kind of came out of nowhere.
Right. That's when, so for me, this story isn't too hard to believe when you consider how things went down, and just really makes you wonder about the relationship between Kraft and Belichick, right? I mean, It seemed like it got real sour at the very end, especially when a guy picks up the phone and calls a fellow owner and says, if I were you, I wouldn't hire him. I mean, that's kind of crazy for a guy who's won 6 Super Bowls as a head coach. And now, at his age now, he's in the 70s now, I think it's doubtful that he gets another head coaching job. So that was really like that was definitely some hater level dealings by Bob Kraft.
Who knows? Maybe the real story is Arthur Blank called Kraft and asked.
And that could be a way too, right? I mean, I guess in the real world, oftentimes they call you and ask your previous employer about a new employee. So It's not that hard to believe, right?
No.
So any last words, Bailey, before
I'll
we
finish
send it
on
off?
this. What's on your mind? Well, apparently Bill Belichick doesn't drink coffee either. I found that very weird.
Really?
Yeah. He said that on the Pat McAfee show.
Well, look, that's cool because I don't drink coffee either, so it's all good, right? That's all for Sports Tonight on a Wednesday. We see you tomorrow, and go Hawks as they play in the plane tonight.